You're a nice robot lady.
There
There she
we go.
is. All
Awesome. Hi, everybody.
right.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you, Evelyn, for letting me know that everyone saw my secretive notes. I apologize for that. I just started learning how to use my second screen because my little connection thing wasn't working, so I apologize for that. I want to welcome everyone here today. My name is Annette Mendez, and I'm the Training and Curriculum Manager here at Good Grief. Today's session is part of our Good Grief Community webinar series. Every school year, we bring you content, experts, and information as a way to really extend the work that we do outside of our centers and into this virtual space, because we know that while we are the experts with the heart, we're not experts on every single thing. So like Evelyn says, we sometimes like to go ahead and phone a friend and have them come in with us, right? Anyone who is attending today's live session, you will receive a certificate of attendance within the next 48 hours. As always, we always like to start from a place of gratitude, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to spend this time with you today and for our presenter, Madeline. I'm also super excited about this topic, right? Because grief is something we all encounter in our lives, right? And it's something that is talked about the least. So before I let you know who Madeline is, I just want to tell you a little bit about who we are. For those of you who are new to Good Grief, we are a nonprofit organization that's been around in New Jersey since 2004. Our mission is to build resilience in children, strengthen families, and really empower communities to grow from loss and adversity, right? For most of the organization's history, we've been providing free, I'd like to pause on that, free and unlimited peer support programs to grieving children and families. We start at 3 years old and we go into young adulthood. We like to joke around and say we use that young adulthood term very loosely because we have some who are maybe in their 30s, but who are we to turn them away, right? In recent years, our work has really been growing through education and advocacy to provide training, curriculum, and resources to schools, to hospitals, healthcare, the funeral industries, different corporations, and just other spaces, right? To really empower professionals, empower parents, and just the broader community as a whole to support the needs of children and families who are facing loss and adversity. So here's a big picture view of what we do, right? We have family support services. We have Good Grief Schools. Our Spring Institute is coming in March, so be on the lookout for that email. We also offer professional development and training, parent and caregiver education, and community webinar series like the ones that you have here. Our family support services, we do that in 2 of our centers. We have one here in Morristown where Evelyn and I are today. Evelyn is visiting. She's usually in our Princeton Center. We also want to let you all know, for those of you who are on the call that are in schools, we are doing different roundtable sessions for different educators to come in and kind of discuss this grief bill, this grief mandate that just came down in January. But we'll get more into that later on. I want to introduce you all to Madeline Aragon. She is a licensed mental health clinician and a certified grief recovery specialist. She's the founder of Safe Space Group, where they offer grief recovery services. At Safe Space Group, their vision is to encounter life, to achieve assurance, and to restore a sense of self and purpose. She holds virtual groups as well as one-on-one support for those who are suffering from a loss of any kind. And she co-authored a book called Doing It Afraid, where she details how she overcame the fear called agoraphobia. Her approach is rooted in empathy, understanding, and a commitment to fostering healing and resilience. So with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing really quickly, and I'm going to let Madeline take it away for us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Annette. Thank you, Evelyn. Let me just share my screen. Can we see this?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, perfect. So let me start by saying thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to be able to share with you on the topic of grief. It's such a neglected and misunderstood process. And just want to share a little bit of how I got into the grief work. Like Annette was saying, I am a licensed clinician and also a grief recovery specialist. And I also experienced a lot of losses in my life, with the death of my grandparents, the loss of my dogs, and also the loss of my identity and myself and my freedom. Like she mentioned, back in 2008, I suffered from agoraphobia. And if you don't know what agoraphobia is the fear of being outdoors, and being out in open spaces. And I suffered from agoraphobia for a good year and a half, and that what led to was a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, and just I was grieving. I was grieving those things that I once used to do. I was not able to go out and food shop. I wasn't able to interact with people because I was just filled with so much anguish and despair. And I had to go through a process of kind of honing in and dealing with a lot of this emotions and a lot of the pain that I was going through. And as you can see now, I'm recovered. I overcame. I am now here to kind of just speak on that, and also speak on what are some tools that I learned throughout the process. So I want to share with you some of the things that I use to be able to help me overcome some of the grief that I experienced during that time. Let's see. So when we think about grief, grief can be such a very heavy word, right? It kind of might stir up some feelings for us. Grief can, in some ways, bring up a lot of emotion, a lot of memories, right? So I'm curious to see or even if we can utilize the chat, maybe Annette can just chime in. What
Yes,
are some
absolutely.
words that come up when you see the word grief? What are some things that maybe you're feeling when you see this word right here on the screen?
So we have pain, sorrow, loneliness, isolation, anger, taboo.
Mm.
Taboo, that's a good one. I haven't heard that one in a while.
Oh,
Loss of some kind, change, loss of a loved one, loneliness, isolation, illness. We have anxiety, emptiness,
mm,
desperation, a sense of powerlessness, heartbreak. Kim wrote disenfranchised. Yes, absolutely. We have Paul who says it's an opportunity for growth. Sorry.
mm.
Depression, ongoing. Yes, moments of depression for sure. Change. We also have divorce, vulnerability.
Yeah, yeah. So these are some things that perhaps we've experienced or seen others experience. A lot of these emotions can stir up a lot of, hurt, pain, devastation. There's just so much within grief that we've yet to even like fully grasp, right? Because we've been taught certain things that perhaps didn't help us throughout our lifetime. So thank you all for sharing. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to share with you some three definitions um, that describe grief. You see here first that grief is the normal and natural reaction to loss of any kind. We know that grief is normal, right? Grief is universal. Everyone's going to experience grief sometime or another. It doesn't matter your gender, your age, your skin color, your socioeconomic status. You are going to go through grief, right? Unfortunately, though, we have been socialized to believe that these feelings are abnormal and unnatural, right? Grief is the most powerful of all emotions, and it's neglected, and sometimes it can be misunderstood. So, the second definition that I have here is the conflicting feelings caused by the end of or change in a familiar pattern of behavior. For example, when someone you love dies, right, you feel a sense of relief, right? Perhaps that person maybe was suffering from an illness. So that person, is no longer there. The conflicting feeling behind that is you feel relief, right? That person is no longer suffering. But then at the same time that you realize that you no longer can see that person, you're not able to interact. So you have both conflicting feelings, right? You have the feeling of relief, but then you feel the pain of not having that person in your life, right? How about divorce? The conflicting feeling could be that you feel like relieved that you're no longer with this person, but then you feel uncertain of what your future is going to be look like. So these are two conflicting feelings. The third definition that I have here is the feeling of reaching out for something that is familiar, only to find that when we need it one more time, it's no longer there, right? Sometimes that the feeling of not having your loved one there can cause you to feel like if you're reaching out for this person is not there, you're feeling grief, right? You have a sense of loss, right? It also can mean that if you experience a death or divorce of someone who was not so loving, right? Perhaps problematic, it can mean the feeling of reaching out for someone who has never been there for you and still isn't. So those are some definitions that can help you understand a little bit of what grief is. I want to show you here that there's more than 40 life events that can produce feelings of grief. I have here some tangible losses. What is tangible? Well, when we look at this, we can see that tangible losses refer to the physical, measurable aspects of loss that occur when someone dies or significant life change events happens. These losses are often visible and concrete. We can see here the death of a loved one, a pet. How about moving, right? That can cause feelings of grief, right? Change in financial status, loss of independence, there's illness. So there's just a whole lot that can cause us. But right here, I'm showing you some of the some tangible losses. There are also intangible losses, and that can be your hope, safety. For me, when I was suffering from agoraphobia, I lost my identity. I was grieving my normalcy, my control, the safety that I once had was no longer there. So these are some intangible losses that can produce feelings of grief. There are many influences in how we grieve. The various experiences that we have from childhood and previous losses can influence the way we've grieved today. Some families welcome feelings while others don't. A family that hides their feelings and doesn't allow the expression of emotions will make it difficult to grieve now. So imagine when you were born, you see this image here on the screen. You're carrying an empty backpack, right? So just imagine you're carrying this empty backpack when you were born. You experience losses in this world, and no one tells you how to respond. We're not taught how to deal with the emotions, right? We are told to suck it up and move on. As we go through life, we pick up these emotional weights and we start putting them inside our empty backpack. These emotional weights increase as we age. For example, not making the sports team, breakups, loss of friendships, right? All of a sudden, this backpack starts becoming heavy. It starts to weigh us down, right? The way we're able to express our feelings of grief in the past can influence how we express grief today. If friends and family were supportive of our grief and gave us the freedom to grieve in various ways, then we might continue to feel the freedom to grieve in the ways necessary. So sometimes those experiences that we have endured through childhood, perhaps seeing the way our family dealt with grief, can have an influence in the way we grieve today. So I have a question for you. What are some losses that you have experienced that you did not process fully? What is that heavy backpack that you've been carrying throughout life that perhaps has weighed you down so heavily, has given you this burden, so to speak, that you have not been able to fully process?
So we have death of a parent in childhood, changes to their professional career, Changing schools 3 times in elementary school.
Oh,
That's a hard one. We have chronic illness, loss of a sibling, immigration. Immigration's a big one. Setting aside a dream.
mm,
The death of a younger, happier self. The death of a grandparent, the loss of a sibling. We have parents abandoning for no reason, the loss of a child. Friends moving to different states. Yes. Pets. That's usually like one of the first things that we experience, right? A pet loss. A cancer diagnosis, rejection from your parents for being who you are, alienation from a parent, out of order death of a parent due to a medical negligence. That's a hard one. And no longer being engaged. I'm guessing, is that like a marriage engagement, Linda, or do you mean no longer be engaged with the people who are around us? A marriage, okay. No longer being engaged. Yeah, that's a tough one too.
yeah, so these are definitely tough losses. These are all what represents some of these things that you've mentioned are just some of those heavy things that you've been carrying, right, throughout
Mhm.
life. And it's devastating. It's just, we see that grief has a lot to do with your heart. Your heart's broken throughout all this. And so, yeah, definitely it's very hard to hear. Thank you for sharing this. I want to talk about some of the myths and misinformation about dealing with grief. Some of the misinformation, well, like I mentioned before, we've learned throughout life, right? Through our childhood, some of our experiences. One of those myths and misinformations that perhaps we've heard is don't feel bad. And we have to understand that we're equipped with the capacity to feel and express emotions, right? Happy and sad and everything in between. We are human, right? That's what makes us, right? Vulnerable. We are human. We feel these emotions. But throughout our childhood, we have been taught not to feel bad, and that we've kind of learned to bury and stuff all those emotions down. So, here's an example. A little child comes home from preschool with their feelings hurt. Mom asks, "What happened?" The child responds tearfully, telling mom that one of her friends did something terrible to her and she's really upset, right? The kids were mean to her. So the mom says, "Don't cry. Here, have a cookie," right? You'll feel better. So, what is the child learning from that experience? That feelings can be fixed by food, right? The child eats the cookie and feels different, not better, and for the moment is distracted and forgets about the incident that happened at school. But there has not been any emotional completion of the pain, right, caused by the event. If she wants to bring it up, she will probably be told, "Stop crying, go to your room," right? So those are the things that it's a learned behavior. We realize that, oh my goodness, this, I can't feel bad. I can't express this sadness. I'm going to take this cookie and it's going to help me feel good temporarily, right? Which then what ends up happening is that this child ends up growing up and utilizing food as a coping mechanism, right? And that ends up becoming another issue. The second myth and misinformation is replace the loss. For most children, the first time they hear that phrase is after a pet dies. When they commonly hear is like, "Don't feel bad. On Saturday, we'll get you another dog," right? What is that teaching the child? The child that they've been introduced to, don't feel bad, and we're going to replace the loss. And then what happens as the child gets older, maybe as a teenager experiences their first breakup, what does he hear? What does he hear from his friends? "Ah, don't worry about it. There's plenty of fish in the sea. There's other girls out there. Guys, don't worry. Move on," right? So you're not able to really dive into that loss and kind of like process those feelings because we're always constantly moving to the next thing, to the next somebody or relationship. The next one is grieve alone. There's a saying, right? You've probably heard of this saying, laugh and the world laugh and the whole world laughs with you, cry and you cry alone, right? It's heartbreaking that when you're sad and you need someone to hear you, you're told to be by yourself, right? The next one is just giving time. You've probably heard time heals all wounds, but let me tell you, time only passes. It's what you do within time that's going to really help you, right? For example, if you broke your arm, are you going to let time heal that? No, you're going to go see a doctor, right? You're going to get a cast. You'll probably get physical therapy. So you need to go and get it treated. Well, how about taking the actions to help you with your broken heart? Sometimes we neglect the emotional pain that we are experiencing because we just think that time is going to heal it. Not necessarily. You After some time, a lot of you mentioned some of these events, some of the losses that you've experienced. When I asked you, what are some things that are still perhaps weighing you down? How long ago was that? I mean, some of you might have experienced this maybe 5, 10, 15 years ago. And even just the thought of thinking back on that moment can still have an impact, like if it happened yesterday. So I just want to tell you that's a myth, right? The next one is be strong for others. We have to act recovered, right? Comments like, I'm fine, put on your happy face, be strong, they're not helpful, right? I'm sure there's a lot of women and men out there who've had to feel like they had to be strong, right? They can't go out there and show their emotions, right? Come on, be a man. And that's a facade that they've had to carry. And what a burden that is to be able to have to be weighed by this comment. So it's not helpful, right? Because when we try to be strong for others, we're neglecting our own self. We feel like we can't share because we're going to be fearful of being criticized, evaluated, right? Or judged. And the last one is keep busy. Many people have nearly worked themselves into exhaustion trying to keep busy, right? Yeah, it'll help you temporarily, keeps your mind distracted away from the pain, right? But keeping busy can be a short-term distraction from pain because at the end of the day, not only are you tired, but your heart is still broken. So, what are some comments you heard after a loss that were not helpful? I'm curious to hear.
We have, everyone has to go through this. What
Mhm,
doesn't kill you make you stronger. Yep. Oh,
mhm,
everything happens for a reason. Time
mhm,
heals everything. Now they're with God. Time heals
mhm,
all wounds. She looks so natural. It could
mm,
be worse. That's life. We all have problems. They're in a better place. Yes.
yeah,
Anything that starts with at least. Yes, Susan.
jeez,
Wouldn't it be better if you just forget?
mm,
We all die sometimes. Get over it. It's meant to be. It will be okay. Everything passes. You'll see them again. Those
yeah,
are all, yes, very good. They're not in pain anymore.
yeah, yeah. And this is very like intellectual comments, right? They're basically there to kind of like take your mind off the pain. Like, like everything's gonna be fine, but they're really not helpful, right? They're not helpful in any ways. Thank you for sharing. So I want to talk about some short-term energy relieving behaviors, short for STIRBs, right? Unresolved grief consumes a tremendous amount of energy. Most commonly, the grief stays stored and buried underneath the surface, and only the symptoms are being treated. Unresolved grief can accumulate negatively in your body. Remember, the body keeps the score, right? Each time a loss is not properly concluded, there is cumulative restriction on our aliveness. Life becomes something we have to endure. We end up storing the energy inside ourselves. So we turn to these STIRBs, short-term energy relieving behaviors. And what they do is they temporarily help us to escape the pain caused by loss. They appear to work. They create an illusion of recovery by causing you to forget or bury your emotions. They're short term, they do not last, and they do not deal with the true emotional issue. They basically help us to bottle up our feelings. And I'm going to give you some examples of this. The one that I mentioned before about the little girl, where her mom gave her a cookie, we can utilize that now, right? Food is so comforting when we're upset to, maybe grab that bag of potato chips. Or how about work? Just staying busy at work, it causes us to get distracted, right? Drugs could be prescription or illegal drugs, sleep. How about TV? Oh boy, can we binge watch Netflix and realize that we've watched like 10 episodes straight, huh? Yeah. Alcohol. People have used exercise as a way to just like create a short-term energy relieving. And and I have to say that it does help, but if you become solely focused on that and not really dive into the emotional pain, you're using that as a short term. And your cell phone, scrolling through social media, right? You can waste time with that. How about shopping, also known as retail therapy, right? Isolation, not wanting to be around other people, excluding yourself, sex, books, fantasies. So these are just some examples of the short-term energy relieving behaviors that we can utilize to just help us mask, right? Help us kind of like just stuff everything inside of us and not really deal with the issue. So, how unresolved grief can impact life? So, it can impact us in three ways: physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And like I said before, your body kind of just keeps the score. Our body holds on to a lot of that trauma, a lot of the emotions stay stored up. And if we're not able to process these feelings in a healthy manner, we're ending up with perhaps ulcers, high blood pressure, right? Headaches, anxiety, depression. It can affect the way we sleep because we're constantly staying up at night thinking about the loss, right? Digestive problems, fatigue. There's a whole numerous of things that really it can cause us a lot of illnesses as well, right? And it's just a lot of things can stir up within us if we're not dealing with our grief properly. Like I mentioned, and some of you had mentioned before, others are not prepared to help us deal with loss. First of all, they don't know what to say, right? They're afraid of how perhaps we feel. The person might just be feeling like, oh, this is awkward. I don't know what to say. This is just not something I know how to navigate, right? Their comments are very intellectual. But do you know what? It's not helpful because when you're put in that situation, you just feel like, you know what? I'd rather not say anything. I'd rather just keep it to myself, right? So, you know, even though a well-meaning friend might have a parallel loss, right? Like, for example, both of your parents died, right? And they say, oh, you know what? I know how you feel. Do you really? Sometimes well, maybe you had a great relationship with your mom, but I had a combative, problematic relationship with my mom. Do you know how I feel? No, you don't, right? So that can be hard. Second, they're afraid of our feelings, right? Because very early on, society teaches us that having sad, painful, negative feelings and showing them is somehow not appropriate. When we were young, we were told, stop that crying, or I'll give you something to cry about, right? Or when you were young and you were perhaps out in the playground with your friends and you started crying, another kid like, cry, baby, right? Remember that? It's like, oh, I don't want to be crying in front of people. So what happens? We don't want to display that kind of emotion. How about three? They try to change the subject, right? For example, a griever whose mother has died tries to communicate with a friend. The friend asks, "How are you good? How are you doing?" The griever says, "I'm heartbroken. I miss her so much." And then the friend might say, "Ah, don't feel bad. She's in a better place. She's not in pain anymore." What happened? See the subtle change in, right? In conversation? It is the griever who is sad. And it's about the person who died. But if you're all of a sudden you're being told that you're not able to express that because you're all of a sudden changing the topic, that person is not going to feel comfortable sharing that, right? And number four, they intellectualize, right? They start attempting to shift from emotions to right here, the mind, right? So remember, grief is an emotional response to loss. How about being a heart with ears, right? Just being there for the person, allowing that person just to kind of share their broken heart. Number five, they don't want to hear us, right? Grieving people want and need to be heard. They don't need to be fixed, right? They just want you to be there, to be able to just hear them out, express their feelings for that moment. And guess what? It's not going to fix the problem, but at least they were able to release all of that from inside. And then number six, they don't want to talk about that. Perhaps death is just one of those subjects that they're just uneasy about. They don't even want to even use the word death, right? Have you heard people say, "Oh, she's passed on, dad's gone, or we've lost her," right? Because it's almost like death is just one of those, it's touchy. I don't want to go there, right? So it gets to be a little bit uncomfortable. So I wanted to share those things with you. I wanted you to kind of see like how others are not prepared to help deal with loss. I want to share this video here, how you can help others, or, perhaps the other way around, how a person can help you, you know, throughout a loss, and what to say to that person when they're going through a devastation. Oh, let's see. One moment.
So, what do we do about all the pain we see in the world? All the pain we feel in our own lives?
We hear it, but we don't
And why
see
does
it.
like our best?
You don't see it.
Yeah, you might have to share your screen again.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see. Can you see my screen? Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So, what do we do about all the pain we see in the world? All the pain we feel in our own lives? And why does it seem like our best efforts to help somebody feel better always backfire? I've been studying intense grief and loss, baby death, violent crimes, accidents, suicides, and natural disasters. And I've learned something really interesting. Cheering people up, telling them to be strong and persevere, helping them move on, it doesn't actually work. It's kind of a puzzle. It seems counterintuitive, but the way to help someone feel better is to let them be in pain. This is true for those giant losses and the ordinary everyday ones. Educator Parker Palmer writes, "The human soul doesn't want to be advised or fixed or saved. It simply wants to be witnessed exactly as it is." He's talking about acknowledgement here. Acknowledgement is this really amazing multi-tool. It makes things better even when they can't be made right. For example, somebody's struggling. Their baby died, or there's been a bad accident, or their mom got sick, and they're just sad. It's way more helpful to join them in their pain than it is to cheer them up. But here's what we tend to do instead. You have 2 other children, you need to find joy in them. Or, you know what you need? You just need to go out dancing and shake it off. Or, I felt really sad once. Did you try acupuncture? We're not really sure what to do with someone's pain, so we do what we've been taught. We look on the bright side. We try to make people feel better. We give them advice. It's not like this is nefarious. I mean, we try to cheer people up because we think that's our job. We're not supposed to let people stay sad. The problem is, you can't heal somebody's pain by trying to take it away from them. Now, acknowledgement does something different. When a giant hole opens up in someone's life, it's actually much more supportive to acknowledge that hole and let pain exist. It's actually a radical act to let things hurt. It goes against what we've been taught. In order to really support you, I have to acknowledge that things really are as bad as they feel to you. If I try to cheer you up, you end up defending yourself and your feelings. If I give you advice, you feel misunderstood instead of supported. And I don't get what I want either, because I wanted you to feel better. It's pretty rare that you could actually talk somebody out of their pain. Rarely does the admonishment to look on the bright side actually heal things for someone. It just makes them stop telling you about their pain. It's so tempting to try to make things better. When somebody shares something painful, it's much more helpful to say, "I'm sorry that's happening. Do you want to tell me about it?" To be able to say, "This hurts," without being talked out of it, that's what helps. Being heard helps. It seems too simple to be of use, but acknowledgement can be the best medicine we have. It makes things better, even when they can't be made right.
What a great video, right? Any thoughts on that?
Someone in the chat said it reminded them of Inside Out, where sadness is comforting Bing Bong. And Evelyn and I were mentioning how we use that scene a lot in our trainings to show them, that all these emotions of grief should be honored and embraced. They're saying it's perfectly said. They want to share the link. I love the video. You will get slides, I will tell you that. But yeah, I agree. It's a great video.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll get you the name of it and everything after the webinar for you guys.
Yes.
Someone else wrote, oftentimes when someone is upset, they end up having to comfort the person that they were confiding in, and that's
Mm.
Yes, Madeline, it looks like they are eager to know, what can we do, to be present with someone. I feel like they're just queuing it up probably for what's coming next. What a good group.
Yes. And that's exactly it. Sometimes we don't need to say anything, and sometimes it's okay to just be there with the person, right? And just help them to process the feelings. What exactly are you feeling? Give me some feeling words. This must be so hard for you. I can't imagine what you're going through. Things like that. Comments like that encourages the person to talk, right? Or how about tell me a little bit of the loved one. Who was this person? Or what good memories do you have of this person, right? Because that kind of shifts that person to think about certain things that perhaps might have bring them joy, right? Some things that causes them to feel like, wow, I miss this person, but I remember when dot dot dot, right? It shifts their mood. It changes their way, their thought process is. So it kind of gives them that opportunity to be able to talk freely, and it's okay. Let that person talk. You don't need to interrupt. You just be there to share and just let them be open. And I think those are one of the things that really is beneficial and helpful for the griever. Now, I wanted to give you some coping strategies, some things that I feel is going to help you manage your emotions and step into a path of recovery. Coping strategies are essential when dealing with grief because they provide individuals with tools to manage the overwhelming emotions and stress that come with loss. Grief can impact emotional, mental, and even physical health. So, having effective strategies like the one I'm going to share with you today can help grievers process their feelings, reduce the risk of prolonged suffering, and prevent unhealthy coping mechanisms like isolation and disturbs, right? So, one of the things that I have here is support networks. Join support groups. Perhaps participate in grief support groups, right? Either in person or online. Sharing experiences with others can be very comforting. right? How about seeking professional help? If you feel like you're really stuck, right? The grief has turned into perhaps depression or something more, really consider talking to someone, a grief counselor, or someone who's, that can really help you manage these emotions. They can provide tools and strategies tailored to your situation. And when we go through grief, we sometimes isolate, right? So, really try to engage with family and friends. Regular contact can provide emotional support and a sense of belonging. It's important to really make sure that you take care of your physical well being. Keeping a regular daily schedule can provide structure and a sense of normalcy. Exercise, right? Going out for a walk, maybe yoga, it can help improve mood and reduce stress. Healthy eatings, make sure that you have a balanced diet. Proper nutrition supports overall well-being and can affect mood positively. And your sleep, prioritize good sleep hygiene. Get that 7 or 8 hours if you can, because it's so important to be able to do so for your emotional and physical health. Another coping strategy is I have here is for your mental and your emotional well-being. Express your feelings. How can you do that? Perhaps writing in a journal, art, right? Finding ways that you can express those emotions. Engaging in hobbies like activities that can bring joy and relief. Perhaps you want to join a book club, or maybe find friends that like to hike, or doing things that can help you be engaged, right? And not feel isolated. Mindfulness and meditation practices like yoga or mindfulness exercises, things that can provide moments of peace, is very beneficial. Also, being involved in social and community engagement. Perhaps your loved one died of cancer. Maybe you want to go ahead and do a 5K or a walk in their honor, right? In an organization that's sponsoring this, or anything that can help keep that loved one's memory alive. Joining clubs or classes, participate in activities, right? Take up a new hobby, like I mentioned before. Being in social groups can help you, right? And those who find their spirituality and their faith important, perhaps being involved in church or engaging in things that can help you find support in your spiritual walk. I know this can be a very devastating time, but some have found that spirituality has helped them in their grief. And also have compassion for yourself. Be kind. Acknowledge that grieving is difficult and it's okay. It's okay to have those bad days. You're human, and understand that grief is a process and it's a journey. And when you have those bad days, it's okay. But try to find somebody that you can talk to and connect with, and able to, be able to feel free to share those sad feelings. And then when you are going through this and perhaps, deciding, what, I'm going to get up from the bed, going to take a shower, I'm going to go for a walk. And guess what? You did it. You celebrate those small steps. You got out of bed. You're walking forward into this healing process. So celebrate those small wins, right? Even if it's dialing a friend or going out and meeting someone for lunch, celebrate that. And also forgive yourself. Sometimes you might replay moments where you wish you had done something differently. Sometimes you wish maybe you could have said something that perhaps you didn't get the chance to. Forgive yourself for that. Forgive yourself for those moments where things might have been hard, right? In that relationship. Perhaps you wish things could have been different, better. Um, Take that moment to really give yourself the grace that you need to be able to move forward. I want to talk to you about some of the relaxation techniques that I utilize with my clients. It's so important to be able to utilize these techniques because it helps reduce stress. Techniques like deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or meditation can lower stress hormones, right? It can release a lot of the emotional pain, right? So I'll be discussing some of these relaxation techniques with you. I'm also going to have you do it along with me. Relaxation techniques improve sleep. Techniques can improve the quality of your sleep. And also, it can help emotional regulation, creating a mental space where individuals can process emotions without feeling overwhelmed. It helps reduce anxiety, anger, or sadness. It also, relaxation techniques can help with your physical health. It reduces physical symptoms such as headaches, muscle tension, and fatigue. And lastly, it can help with your mind, being present. It helps us to reduce the tendency to get lost in the past or in the future. So I want to work with you on an exercise called deep breathing. It's just going to help you kind of relax. It's going to help you alleviate stress and reduce anxiety, and it promotes just a sense of calmness and relaxation. So this deep breathing exercise is going to be a 4-4-6, and what that is, we're going to breathe in for a count of 4. We're going to hold the breath for a count of 4, and then we're going to release for a count of 6. So I want you to really stay mindful of your breathing. Sometimes we can get distracted and let our minds kind of go on other things that we have to do throughout today. But this is your opportunity right now to kind of release any of this tension that you've probably been feeling throughout the day. And I want you to really be mindful in this exercise to stay focused and present. So I want you to find a comfortable position, sit in your chair with your back straight. I want your feet flat on the floor, and I want you to just relax your body. I want you to close your eyes and take a moment to relax your muscles. Let your shoulders drop and place your hands comfortably on your sides. And I want you to take a moment to just take a few normal breaths in and out through your nose. Focus on how your breath feels as it enters and leaves your body. Slowly inhale through your nose for a count of 4 and allow your abdomen to expand as you fill your lungs with air. Then you're going to hold your breath for a count of 4. Now, if this feels uncomfortable, if you can't hold it for a count of 4, just let it out. It's okay. But we just want to be able to hold it in. And then we're going to exhale for 6. So here we go. Breathe in for 4. Hold. And breathe out for 6. Concentrate on your breath and try to clear your mind of distractions. So let's do it again. Breathe in for 4. Hold. And out for 6. It's more. Breathe in. Hold. Out. You're really being mindful of how the air is just kind of going through your nostrils and out. And that's just a great relaxation for you. You're able to really hone in on your breathing, right? Try to do that at least twice a day and just kind of sense how you feel afterwards. Does it help you to really calm down and just ease your anxiety or ease a lot of the stress that we're feeling? I think that's a great relaxation for you to utilize. You can do that anywhere. The next one that I have for you is imagery, and I really enjoy doing this one with my clients. Imagery is basically you using your imagination to create calming and positive images in your mind. It can help release stress, enhance relaxation, and improve overall well-being. So I want you to think of a safe place. I want you to think about somewhere where you feel like you're in a comfortable a place where it just gives you a sense of relaxation and happiness, right? This place can be a beach, a forest, a garden, or maybe even a cozy cabin. So I want you to take that time right now and just place that image in your mind. Imagine yourself in this place. Picture yourself arriving there and taking in the surroundings. Use all of your senses to make the scene as vivid as possible. What does it look like? What time of day is it? Is there someone else with you? Visualize the colors and shapes around you. Notice the details, such as the blues of the sky, the green of the trees, or the soft light filtering through the leaves. Is there something around you that calms you down? Spend more time looking at it. What are the sounds you hear? Imagine the sounds you hear in this place. It could be the gentle lapping of waves, the rustling of leaves in the wind, or the chirping of birds. Perhaps you can hear somebody's voice. Observe that sound and focus on that which soothes you. Think about the scents in the air. Imagine what the place smells like. Is there a unique smell to it? What is it like? Could be the salty smell of the ocean, the earthy scent of the forest, or the fragrance of flowers in a garden. Now use your sense of taste. Is there something you're eating or drinking when you're there? Maybe it's a pina colada or a hot cocoa. Maybe it's a delicious taste of biting into a yummy fruit. Recall it and observe the taste. I want you to feel the sensations on your skin. Imagine the warmth of the sun and the coolness of a breeze, or the softness of grass beneath your feet. I want you to spend some time here and fully immerse yourself in the scene. Explore it in your mind, noticing how calm and relaxed you feel. Allow yourself to enjoy the serenity and comfort it brings. And while you're in this place, tell yourself positive affirmations like, I am calm and at peace. I'm in a place of comfort and joy. And when you're ready to return, slowly bring your awareness back to the present moment. Take a deep few breaths in. Wiggle yourself out of there. How was that for you? Was that relaxing?
Very.
Yes, yes. I was imagining myself in the beach with a pina colada. I was just like, yeah, I'm there. Totally there. I can hear the beach, the waves. I can smell the saltiness of the water. And that's when you utilize all of your senses, right? It's like it brings you back in. How quick and easy it is to actually think of something and your mood just changes, right? It brings you back to that place, that safe place. So do this. I'm telling you, it's a great technique, and it will really help you feel relaxed. Another one that I have is called progressive muscle relaxation. And this is the last one that I'll leave you with. This activity is going to assist you in becoming more aware of your body. And when, like I mentioned, your body, when you're filled with a lot of grief, anxiety, stress, you can feel it in your muscles, right? Your body becomes tense. Perhaps your shoulders or your neck is just tight. And so what this activity does is helps you to kind of helps you to become more aware of where this pain is coming from, and it helps you to release a lot of the tension, right? So we're going to identify where's the stress coming from. So we're going to take some time. We're going to deep breathe in. So take a moment, breathe in and out. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. With our feet on the ground, I want you to curl your toes. And we want to curl our toes as tight as you can. So kind of curl them in for a few seconds and then relax your toes. Next, I want you to lift your heels off the ground and hold this position for a few seconds, holding your heels off the ground. Tense them up and release. Next, I want you to squeeze your buttocks right in this position. We're going to squeeze and release. And now concentrate, keep breathing, right? Concentrate on breathing. It's so important while you do this exercise. Now we're going to suck in our belly. We're going to move up to our belly. We're going to suck it in and out. Next, we're going to raise our shoulders as high as you can for a few seconds. We're going to release all that tension that probably we're feeling up in our shoulders, right? All the way up to your ears, and relax and breathe. Now we're going to take their hands, and we're going to curl these hands into a ball, a fist. We're going to straighten our arms out and try to squeeze your hands as hard as you can, right? Releasing all that, release your hands, release that tension out. And then lastly, we're going to squeeze your eyes and your lips. You're going to make a funny face, but that's okay, because you know what? You're relaxed and you're laughing, and that just releases a lot of the tension. So you're going to squeeze your face, make that squishy, silly face, and release. Oh, see that? You are releasing a lot of tension. This is just a great tool to utilize. So whenever you're feeling tense, you just basically start from your toes all the way up to your head, and it's just you're being mindful as to where's this tension, right? And if you need to go back to the shoulders, just go up and just tense this muscle and then release. And then allowing yourselves a moment there to just breathe in and breathe out. So I really hope those 3 exercises, those techniques really helped you. It's certainly something that you should utilize throughout, every day. Try to at least do something. It really helps you to relax and puts you in a calming state. This is my contact information. I'm at Safe Space Group. This is my website. I'm also going to be having a virtual grief group starting in January. So if anyone's interested, please reach out. And I'm also on Facebook and on Instagram. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Madeline. This was amazing. We're getting tons of positive comments in the chat. A lot of people really loved it. It was a great presentation. We did have one question in our Q&A, and they were asking if you could address anticipatory grief. Like when someone has a long-term illness or Alzheimer's. And then another question we had was if you had any recommendation, what age group is the grief counseling in? I think I got those two.
Yeah, someone was
Any other-
wondering about your grief groups. Are they all ages? Are they sort of split out?
Well, the grief groups are virtual. It's for adults 18 and above. So we do, and it doesn't matter what kind of loss you've experienced. So it's open to any kind of loss, but it's just for adults, right? Yeah. Yes.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that was a question. And then someone else was asking about, how to find, grief-informed, grief-literate counselors. I know Deanna had great advice in the chat about going to Psychology Today, and you can filter by areas, in person, virtual, if they specialize in grief. But I don't know if you have any other advice that you give folks.
In terms of
locating a grief-informed counselor.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always there. I'm always present. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I do specialize in grief. That is my strength. So I will be happy to discuss any of that with you. My information, I'm sure will be shared in the slide.
Absolutely.
So definitely feel free to contact me, and we can have a discussion as to how I can support you.
Wonderful. Yes. So we will share all of this for those of you who are still hanging in there. I know we lost a few to 1 p.m. meetings, but we will share all of the links, all of the slides, all of the resources. There was also a question about tragedies and natural disasters. So just want to make you all aware that I did share the link for the National Center for School Crisis and Bereavement. They specialize in this. They're a wealth of resources. So that is schoolcrisiscenter.org. And if you wouldn't mind, we might need to transition just to getting the survey into the chat and promoting our next couple of webinars and just being mindful of the time.
Let me just share my screen really quick. Sorry. Can everyone see that?
You're good.
Awesome. So, like we said, good things are coming. We have Children's Grief Awareness Day, which is observed every year on the third Thursday in November. This is the Thursday before Thanksgiving, right, Evelyn? Did I get that correct?
It's always the
Um,
Thursday before Thanksgiving, but we're the week before. So
We're the week before, yes.
Mhm.
And Evelyn and I will be hosting the webinar. And really, we're going to explore ways that you can honor Children's Grief Awareness Day in your school community. We're going to walk you through some lessons that you can utilize for elementary and high school students that will really help you bring Children's Grief Awareness Day to your school community. And all registrants will receive a link to the recorded webinar as well. The lesson plans are also free as well. In addition to that, we're also very excited that we are launching our spirit wear, as it were. So this is on sale now at our, is it on our website, Evelyn, or is it a?
No, I put it in the chat. It's
Okay,
a Children's
perfect.
Grief Awareness Day fundraiser for our org. So if you are a friend of Good Grief and you want a shirt, check it out. We've got it in adult and youth sizes.
And youth sizes as well. We're very excited about this. And then in December, we have Faride Hernandez coming to do our webinar, and that one is going to be in Spanish. So if you know
Yeah.
anyone that would like to attend, that English is their second language, Faride is going to do that all in Spanish. She has nearly 2 decades of professional experience in education, serving as the Assistant Director of International Admissions. And currently she is the chair, I believe, in Piscataway. And she really understands the value of having programming available to the communities that we serve and in their language. And then in February, right? I think it's February, yeah.
Yes, because
Um,
January we haven't pinned down exactly, but we
Yes.
do know February.
But we do know February. February, we're going to have Kelly Cervantes, and she is an award-winning writer, speaker, and advocate. She's best known for her blog, Inchstones, and USA Today's best-selling book, Normal Broken, the grief companion for when it's time to heal, but you're not sure you want to. She has also been published in the Chicago Tribune, Cosmo, Fortune, as well as featured on MSNBC, New York Times, and CNN. So please join us for that. And then we have our Good Grief resources. Let me stop sharing real quick so I can put the survey in the chat.
Yes, thank you.
There you go. Yes, Vanessa, tell your mom, tell everyone.
How all the moms.
Yes, moms, all the moms. I don't know if we were able to, did we get to Elaine's question about addressing anticipatory grief? I know I threw a bunch of questions at you, Madeline.
Yeah, so I think it's a partner who has Alzheimer's. So I know that many times is a ambiguous loss and many times disenfranchised. So I don't know if you had anything for that or, maybe some resources or a website we could direct them to.
Yeah, I mean, that's always difficult knowing that this person is slowly declining, right? The loss of that relationship that they once used to have is not there, it's not present. And it can also definitely cause anticipatory grief. So it's just about preparing yourself to that moment where you know that that person is not going to be fully there for you. So perhaps taking time to maybe even writing down in a journal, writing something, even a letter to this person, right? To the person that they once, that kind of relationship that they once have, right? Because you're grieving the loss of that relationship, right? It's no longer the same. So even writing can be very beneficial. I would maybe even write a letter to that person, right? You don't have to read it. Maybe find someone that you trust that you can read this letter to, that you can just have that person to hear you out while you express these feelings and emotions. Is very beneficial. So that's one of the, I would recommend that. That's one thing I would recommend. I know it's so short. There was so much that I would go into right now, but because of time, but I'll give you that little tidbit, that tool that will help you with. Yeah.
We recommend that a lot too. There's something about being able to get your thoughts and your feelings down on paper and really being able to see it. There's something very symbolic with that. I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Well, I think it's time to wrap this up, Madeline, I just wanted to share my appreciation for you for this session. Thank you so much for being a part of our community. Thank you for everyone, our friends who are still hanging in there, even though
We appreciate you.
we
Thank
are 7 minutes over, and we appreciate you all so much.
Yes, yes. And please, please, please join us for our other upcoming webinars so that we can continue to bring you these topics and things that are relevant to you and those of your grieving families.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
We'll see you all. Thank you. Thank you, Madeline.
You.
I'm gonna stop recording.